Okay, so my time, I just wanted to show you this. It's 2:43 in the morning. Um, yes, I am this crazy sometimes. I wanted to do this video because as I'm sitting here trading, I thought it would be a really good idea to kind of walk you through some of this that's happening because as I mentioned in prior videos, this is something that you technically could do 24 hours a day. I don't necessarily recommend it because, I mean, obviously you need to sleep. Ideally, I'll show you today. So, by the way, this was actually Thursday, and then this is today. So obviously we've still got just under 5 hours before the market opens, and I'll walk you through this. But what I want to walk you through really quick is two things. One, just to try to show you how simplistic this is, and just simple logic to follow when you are planning your trades. My goal is just to help you get to the point to where you're not sitting there and you just have no idea what to do, because the market is constantly pumping. If you look at, for example, a 1 minute chart, and I really like the ES, but you can trade anything. You can trade other futures, you could trade the micros, you can trade forex, it doesn't really matter what you trade because the principles still apply. But if you were to look at a 1 minute chart and you look at the volume, the constant volume, especially during active market hours, there's a tremendous amount of volume that's being pumped through this market. And I will do a video on this, so be on the lookout for this. I'll probably title it something like "There's no such thing as noise in the market." My opinion on that is that noise is a word that traders use to describe things in the market that they don't understand. And I'm going to do a whole video on that because I think it's really important that you understand that markets are fluid. They're constantly moving. They constantly go through repetitive cycles and patterns. And I'm not talking about the cycles and patterns that you read about or that you hear about. I'm talking about a completely different angle on the market. And this just comes from the way that I understand the way that markets move. So be on the lookout for that. So back to key turns. I wanted to show you this 3-day span because we kind of went into this from the video I did from Sunday night into Monday, and then I had several emails, kind of like I said in the video. How did you do that? That was amazing. It's not me, it's this tool. Yes, I came up with the tool, but if you understand how it works, you can do the same thing. You have these, those of you that have this, you have the same numbers I do. So we know that we already talked about this. We're extended from this price. So if I scroll back to the beginning of this day, we're extended. So the likelihood of it coming up here it's pretty high because unless we start breaking lows, the next one was, well, it was technically here, and then we had this one. Unless we have strength in selling, this downward call, so to speak, of what KeyTurns is displaying, meaning that the bias is down, but the further we pull away from this, the more it's going to want to pull back up to it. And so this is obviously, all of this is pre-market. This is Globex. So now we're into the regular trading hours here. So we need to get past these low once the market opens right here in order for this to continue down. And we don't have that. We have a beautiful breakout, and we can target this line. We can trail our profits, etc. I'm going to talk about this right here, what to do in situations like this. But so where do we go? We go to the key turns price, and we want to be, we know that this is going to be highly reactive. So there's two things that have to happen, and I'll just put my cursor right there. So I'm talking about this right here, this area right here. Okay, so to number one, to travel that far and then to continue higher, we need to have a lot of buying going on in here. So we have to continually have breakouts. A run like that's straight up. It's rarely, unless there's some sort of announcement that came out or something economically, it's not going to continue to push up. So we want to test that. We want to short that. We want to, protect risk capital. So if we start breaking highs, we want to be long. So we want to be long above it, short below it. And so we have this period where it just kind of sits there, and then we can see, what happens. And so I don't want to dwell on this one because I want to dwell more on this type of situation, and then what's happening right now in real time with Friday, January 17th, because that's where we're at, and I prefer to do things as real time as possible. So we have the exact same story on Thursday, where we run up to resistance. Let's just call it that. We run up to resistance, right? And then we have the price open, or the key turns level is above price. So we do the same exact thing. If it takes you a little bit to step back, if you're not trading Globex, which is totally fine, then the reason why I'm walking you through the start of this is because there will be instances where, like on Thursday, where when the market did open, we're at or near the key turns level. So what do we do? And I'll come to that in a second. So if you're not sure what to do, then just sit back and just watch. Are we breaking highs? Are we breaking lows? What's happening? So here's our first candle of the Globex session on Thursday, coming into Thursday. So this is technically Wednesday. This is for Thursday. This whole thing is Globex through the RTH close over here. So we just simply watch for lows. So we had this low that was set here, and we have a nice push down, but we have to break this in order to continue down. So I want to look for shorts, but it doesn't mean that you can't take longs. Okay, so as soon as those fail, as soon as we are not breaking lows, we need to look for buys, and this is going to be our target. This is our initial target. Now we have a couple of things you have to keep in mind is that markets are at all-time record historical highs. And so all of this through here, these are prices that we've never been at. I was answering a question from someone a few days ago, and they had asked me about specific prices that we hadn't got to yet. And I said, my answer was basically at this point in the game, there will not necessarily be any single price where the market tops out until economically things back that up. And right now in the United States, regardless of what you think about the administration, things are going really well economically. I mean, it's really amazing how well our economy is doing, especially with the attacks that the administration has. And I'm not talking political here on purpose. That's just what's happening. And our economy is booming. So what's happening is we approach prices that I guess what I would say are, been there, done that prices. It just means that nothing is a surprise anymore. When the Dow hit 20,000, I mean, that was unbelievable. We're not that far from 30,000. So all of these new levels, which we just as I'm speaking, we just hit a new high. I mean, so there's no magical number that it's just going to stop at until there's the backup, meaning things economically back up, or in other words, warrant a drop. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we just keep buying long term, etc. I'm not saying to do that or not to do that. What I'm saying is that there's no specific price that is just all of a sudden going to reverse. So this, where we broke above this is, we're going to be short here, and it broke and we came back, and we just get stuck here. But there's another thing that's happening I'll talk about in a second. This shouldn't surprise anybody, because every single price we hit from this point forward is brand new. We've never seen it before, ever. We've never been here. We're not testing anything because there's nothing to test yet, because we're continually hitting new highs just like we did a few seconds ago. So what I like to do, or at least the way I like to train traders, let's make the game easy. So what are some tools we can use to make this easier? In other words, yes, I understand higher highs, higher lows, etc. And I understand this concept. We want to be short below it, long above it. But this can get a little bit sticky. And yes, this is global. This is before the market opens. And once the market did open, it was much cleaner. There was nothing to worry about because we never broke this low here. So basically what I like to do is I look to where's the most recent low. So here is the first candle of market open. The most recent one that I have to worry about, not worry, but I'm focusing on is this one that was set on this guy right here, this red candle, okay? So I'm looking at that. So if we're gonna went one tick past the KeyTurns price, if we're gonna continue down, we have to get past this one. And then, obviously this one, and then this one. So if it's not there, I'm long. I'm long above that price. So one of the things you can do to make it easier on yourself is use something like I showed the other day, like the box. It almost doesn't matter what you choose. It needs to be something that is easy for you to understand, so that you're not sitting there trying to figure out, should I buy, should I sell, should I short into the line, should I buy into the line, the KeyTurns price, should I ride this out, what should I do? I don't know what to do. You can do something like this. You can use something like this, and I'm not saying that you should do this, but obviously we can see it worked pretty nice. So here we are an hour before market close, and we're just climbing. We're just climbing, and this was Thursday. And then here we are. So the Globex opens right here. Okay, so still climbing, breaking highs, previous highs, etc. And this is a chart I've used for more than 10 years, 612 tick chart on the ES. Here's another long. So we're long, and now we're pushing along again. We're testing this this peak here, so there might be some pullback, but these are brand new highs that we're testing. So if we go back to the 15-minute chart on the ES, and by the way, I don't necessarily trade based off of a 15-minute chart. I like the 15-minute chart with KeyTurns because I like to see a grander view of what's happening, kind of like what I've just walked you through. I like to see, okay, we've been overextended. We have this rounding. This was beautiful. I mean, this was every day is really nice. This just gets sticky because you have about 6 hours worth of just this sideways back and forth. And so the question I always get is, what do I do? Because I know to be short below it, long above it, I can't be long and then short and then long and then short and then long, short, long, short, long, short. And you're right, I agree. So let's hypothetically say you got stuck in a situation like that, because at some point it's going to break. So there's two things you can do. One, if you're back and forth like that, obviously, number one, you're paying commissions every time you get in and out of trade. Number two, you're potentially taking one or two, or maybe even at most 4 tick loss each time you do that, which that adds up. Number three, it becomes unnecessary. So you have to look at, when is this happening? Well, number one, this is happening during Globex. Globex can do that. There's a lot of times where the overnight, look at tonight's overnight. Yes, we're above it and we want to be dominant long, but we just kind of sit here in this channel, and this is quite boring. It's not a lot of fun to sit through, especially if you're in a situation like this and we're just sideways and we're back and forth. So another thing you do is just stay out until something is more clear. Another thing you can do is do something like I just showed and use something like this. If you have a different preferred method of getting into trades, then use that. It really doesn't matter, as long as and you could throw, so you don't bog down your charts or your CPU with tons of data. You can look at the price and just stick a line on there, so you can gauge where that's at. So I know that, so for Friday, I know that we are at 16. So I could put a line right here at 16. I know, okay, this is my threshold, so to speak. So if we come and we qualify for a short, if we come down here and now we have a red arrow to short, I'll take it, and I know that we potentially could head down to here. Maybe I'll get out here and I'll take those few points there. But I also know to be long at or above 16, because that's our KeyTurn price. and I'll trade accordingly. So again, we're looking for, price to break these lows. So the bottom line is that if we use the KeyTurns price to gauge the dominance of our direction, then it really doesn't matter too much what we do. Now, is every day like this where it just sits here back and forth from here? Yeah, we had this short period here, but if I were to look at a smaller time frame chart, which this video is already getting too long, so I won't do that, but you can go back and do that. There are more clear signals than what we can see right here on getting long, getting short, and so you did have some nice trades that pushed down several points that you could have easily taken profit, several opportunities to do that. But if we just keep those couple things in mind, we're looking at this, if you prefer a different type of chart, that's fine too. Like I said, I like a 15-minute. I like to look at just a different perspective. I like to see, I don't want to have to sift through a bunch of candles to see where my lows are, because on this one, even though we are in Globex, I'm still looking at these lows because this one and then this one, and they're higher lows, so there's a progression to go higher. So when I am long above this, I can visually see that, okay, yeah, we are making higher lows. We just need to make higher highs, and we are, but it's just really slow. So the other thing that we had going on today, which wasn't really in anyone's favor, was the impeachment trial started today, or at least the proceedings of it. And so, people are so bored with that. Like, let's just move on and trade. At least that's my mindset. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to trade, and let's focus on the markets and our economy and businesses, etc., and let's just move this dang thing. So it just was really slow and not a lot of excitement. But even with that, we still had our KeyTurns price here, and there were 1, 2, 3 on a 15-minute chart main opportunities to go long. It took almost all day to break through all that, and then we just we run, I wouldn't say to the moon, but we had a nice run. And so that can be confirmed by something like this. We can use that. And on breaking it down on a tick chart, if we looked at like a minute chart or a smaller time frame minute chart, we had here was our breakout, and we had I don't have volume on this chart, but obviously much more volume that helped to push this up through there. So anyways, longer video, but I wanted to walk you through that because there really shouldn't ever be a time where you're wondering what to do. Because if we are overextended, we're going to look for lows to be broken to have strength in that direction. And I will say this one last thing. It's okay if we're overextended. And of course, that just means like, let's see, like here, where overextended, and there, I wish there was a magic number, because the questions will come, well, how many points is overextended? I have no idea. I don't even know if you could run statistics, because I think what you'd get is a range, a pretty massive range. And even if you found the mean to that range, I don't think that you could use that to base. I try not to base my daily trading habits off of a single occurrence or kind of like an average. I'd prefer to understand market movement and then trade based on what the market does. So I simply look for highs and lows. I look for those to be broken. And if something's not clear, stay out. Just wait, or look at a different market. We can do the same thing. For example, maybe you prefer like the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is essentially the same story. I could pretty much repeat everything I just said with the NASDAQ. This is the NQ. Okay, where are we at right now? Okay, so the NQ is a little bit reversed. NQ is a different sector, but for Thursday, very similar story. We're dominant long above. We had ended overextended, and then we had opened here. So we have this range here to push. These lows here are what we're focusing on. We're not making new lows. We're making higher highs, higher highs, higher highs. We're trying to target this. Slower movement, etc. I mean, the story is the same. We test this. Okay, now we're reversed. Okay, now we're long. Test this again. Got a couple ticks away from that. Okay, now we're testing. Okay, now we're short. Now we're long, and some beautiful trades in there. And I think I have a You know, if you traded like the box and the NQ, it's the exact same thing. You know, that there was that push up. A couple shorts that actually didn't work. So these periods where it tried to push down just totally failed, which is fine because these are huge runs. But it's the same exact thing. So it doesn't really matter what markets you prefer. You know, I prefer the ES because there's so much volume on it, but it's the same thing. So we're doing the same thing over and over again. And so if we fast forward to right now, you know, here's right now, we're nearing our highs again. And this thing is just trying to push up. So for Friday, I would look for exactly as what I described. Here's our price, 33.16. I want to be long above it. I want to be short below it. So right now I'm focusing on these lows right here in real time. That would be, what is that? 22.25. So 33.22.25. So if we break that, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to continue. And then what has to happen is these lows have to continually, candle by candle, need to be lower. You know, we can have bounces and stuff, and that's fine. But I want to target this price, and I want to go long off that. And then I want to see strength, higher highs, higher lows, etc. Do the same thing. If I want to break it down, I can go to the 612 tick chart, and I can just use something like the box to, you know, time entries just like this, and I'll, you know, it's the same repetitive process. And then again, last thing, and then I'll let you go because I think this is important. If we're in situations like this and you're not using something else to get into trades and you're only using price, which is totally fine, and I 100% agree with, just if we're not having the push, we just need to, you know, take a step back and either look for these lows to be broken before we panic out, or just create a game that's easier and use something like the box, or if you have another strategy of your own that you prefer. But what we can do is we can use the key turns price to our advantage by knowing the dominant direction. So that's really the bottom line to it, is just to keeping it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. We want to be long above it, short below it. If price is really pushed far above or below it, we want to look for those lows / highs to be broken so that we can trade in that direction. We test it and we just repeat the process over again. Okay, I hope that helped. It should, because everything in these videos I've done, everything that I've walked you through, if you paid attention, it actually happened the next day. So go ahead and rewind it, go through what I said about here, and watch what happens Friday, January 17th, and that's exactly how I'm going to trade it. And that's how I've traded it for many, many years, and it works extremely well. So a lot of this just comes with repetition, understanding it, how it works, and understanding just simple things in the market like highs and lows and looking for those to be broken, etc. And then it should work very well. Let me give you one last little secret trick that I have done for years. Let me see. So let me see a good example. Okay, so do you see, so we have a high here and a high here, and then let's actually do this one too, and then a high here, and then, well, technically a high right here. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, and then technically we have this one here. So one of the things that you can do is you can, and this, you don't need any indicator to do this, you can just do this yourself. So if you look at the previous highs on, you know, obvious highs, you know, dominant highs, and you can do this with lows as well. You can find extremely reliable buy and sell areas. So for example, if we go to this one and then the next dominant one was this one, and if we were to, I'm not going to take the time to do it, if we were to draw a line, so look at my crosshairs, boom, right there, and then look at my crosshairs right there. So if I were to draw like a rectangle even, just extend it across, that is a sell zone that if price gets to again, I want to look to get out of longs and go short. It's really cool. So draw a triangle or a rectangle from here and this one all the way across. You don't know that this is happening yet, going to happen yet, because it hasn't happened until it happens. So when and if price gets there, that's where you get out. It's a zone, it's an area. Okay, you can do the same thing with this one. So so between here and here, and then if you go across, so imagine my rectangle, you want to be out of your longs and short there. You can do the same thing here, here. So draw it from here, and then down here, and then just draw it across. You want to be out of your longs and then even take some shorts. Boom. So you could do this one too, this one, and then we had this. So this zone right here, so this high, and then this high. Okay, that creates a zone. It's larger, but we want to be short in that area. Pretty cool how that works. So I wanted to give you that little free tip because I think it will help you guys. It's, you know, once you see this stuff for so many years, I've been doing this for 25 years now, you know, you don't necessarily even have to have stuff in your charts. You can just see stuff happening. And then, you know, you use tools, like I said in the other video, you've got to use something that gives you an edge. Use something that gives you a really strong edge. I mean, it just becomes a game. And that's where I hope all of you guys get to. And see, look, we just made new highs while we're talking. And what are we doing? We're long above this. So 91.48, and we just hit 20 points on the NASDAQ. About 8 of that since we've been talking here. What's the ES doing? Surprise, surprise, new highs. So anyways, as I speak, we are, you know, following suit to everything I just laid out. And then so these videos are long, but I want to train you. I want to teach you how to do this. It's not hard. It's just repetition. You just got to do it over and over and over again. And then one day it will just click. For some of you, I know because I've gotten emails, it literally took you a couple days. If you don't get it in a couple days, don't be discouraged. You know, this took me, well, not 25 years, but it took me many years to get to this point. But anyways, use it. These are tools that help you do the job extremely well. Use them. They're obviously effective. This was beautiful because we went to the tick. And by the way, since we're here, if we have a KeyTurns price that opens close to where, you know, like this, here was Globex close, and then here's the RTH. So technically, I know some of you are going to be technicians on this, but this is the extended hours close, right? Because, you know, we have an extra 45, well, it's actually 30 minutes. And then here's the Globex open. Okay, so we went to the tick. We want to be long above it, short below it. So if you did that, you're long above. So your fill price is maybe somewhere around 33.16. I mean, we just hit 10 points. You're welcome. Anyways, have fun with this stuff. It's a lot of fun once you understand it. So anyways, that's enough for this video. I hope this helps. It should. Watch it again if you need to, but make this game easy by not complicating it. If you're just not sure what to do, just stay out and wait until something becomes more clear.